This program is brought to you by the City of Fountains Coaches Association.
Carlos Nelson with Cascade Sports, and today we've got the head football coach of Lincoln University, Mr. Malik Hoskins. Hey Malik, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
We doing all right.
Good.
I lead off my programs with HBCU and our coaches. What I want you to do is go back to the first time you fell in love with the sport and give the propers to those coaches, from Biddy all the way up to where you at, the propers for the people that help you build your skill set to where it is now.
Well, I remember the first time I really ever just sat down and watched a football game and really found an interest in a love for it. I remember like it was yesterday. I was 6 years old, and my uncle was a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
What was his name? So the people give names so that they understand that you appreciate what they did for you for building your skill set.
Yeah. Well, my uncle name is Willie Coleman, and we were who was pretty much before I got started playing and had coaches in my life. He was that influential figure because my dad died when I was 6 years old. So at that very same age, he just used to spend a lot of time with me. And we were watching the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. He was a huge Steelers fan. So my competitive nature, even at 6 years old, I started rooting for the Cowboys. And still to this day, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, man. And I remember when Dwight Clark caught that pass in the back of the end zone, man, I was 9 years old, and I cried like a baby. So my passion really for the game really started at 6 years old. And then, as I'm playing Pee Wee League football and having my best friend and Ricky Henson and his dad, Lavelle Henson, who used to transport us to our Pee Wee League football games all the time. And
that was big, wasn't it? That
was huge, man, because again, me growing up from nothing and not having a ride to those practices and to those games and to just have a friend and to have someone who would, who really just took me under their wing and just kind of treated me like a son and getting us where we needed to get to, man. It was huge. And then from Pee Wee League on to seventh grade football, where I had, small town Philadelphia, Mississippi, where I'm from. You from the seventh grade to the 12th grade, everybody was in the same building. So actually, our high school football coaches were our junior high football coaches as well. And Coach Hitchcock, who's a guy that I still to this day think a lot of. Man, he was huge in the upbringing for the next couple of years in my football progression. He saw something in me that I really didn't see in myself. I thought I was just natural.
What I want to ask you also about those coaches, a lot of time coaches be mom, dad, uncle, big brother, and it transcends the game of football into building you into a worthwhile human being, your skill set, your values and things. If you want to touch on any of that during your history.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a cliche, but when people say that, sports and football in particular, it breeds discipline. You have to have discipline. It's a cliche, but it's real talk. You have to have discipline in order to play this game because it's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
What? It wasn't for me.
It's not for everybody. It teaches you real quick the values of life because a lot of the things that you do on the football field, it transitions to everyday life. So, I played all sports, but again, my passion has been and will always be football.
What position did you play coming up?
Listen, I played quarterback in high school. I left high school and I was just an athlete in college.
Talk about some of your accolades. I want
Man.
the people, hold on, listen. My thing is the people need to know who you are. A lot of sports interviewers, they talk about stats and they talk about this and they talk about that. And the people really don't know who you are as a person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can go back to high school, which, you know,
Yeah.
most of the accolades would come from there. State champion, quarterback of a tradition-rich town, Philadelphia, Mississippi, where you had Marcus Dupree, the greatest who never was. You had guys like
I remember him.
yeah,
The
you
greatest
had
who
guys
never
like
was, but I still remember him.
yeah. You had guys like Fred McAfee, who went on to play with the Saints, had a long stint with the Saints, played in the Super Bowl with the Steelers. So you had guys like that you look up to as a high school guy, as a high school athlete. And man, to be able to participate in the state championship game, was a South State champion.
What was it like where you grew up? The whole community turn out to them games.
Hey, listen, if you've never been small town Mississippi or Alabama or Texas or Georgia and been to a high school football game, you know, everything shuts off. Street lights, stoplights, everything shuts off. Nothing works unless you're at the football stadium. And it's amazing. And still to this day, the atmosphere is still the same. You still have guys that, they're still living there and they're still reliving those high school dreams. But, my claim to fame in high school, again, was, just being part of a state championship football team. Be it, it was the South State champions, but still being part of a state championship game, man, and to bring that kind of notoriety to a small town in Mississippi, man, it's just it did a lot for me and my growth as a person.
Who were some of the people that were trying to recruit you, and then where did you finally go?
Well, I had some HBCU offers, Jackson State, Alcorn State, and I had some Division II offers at Delta State University, all in Mississippi. I had one in Livingston, Alabama. But I mean, for some reason, I always had my heart set on going to the University of Southern Mississippi down in Hattiesburg for whatever reason. I didn't know anybody that went, but for some reason, I just felt like I had to go to a bigger institution and just to get away from small towns. So I ended up going to Southern Miss and ended up loving it, man. People ask me, well, hey, why didn't you take the scholarship offers to Jackson State, HBCU, Alcorn, HBCU, where all my siblings on my dad's side went to Alcorn State University? I was like, well, God he led me to another place. And it wasn't about the scholarship offers. It wasn't about any of that. Even at that age, it was what's going to make me happy. And going to University of Southern Mississippi is what made me happy.
On that note, what would you tell an athlete? Because I was an athlete on scholarship also, but I was track. And a lot of times athletes, they come out of high school, they don't really understand the real world, and everybody wants to go to Division I or blah, blah, blah. But how important is it for you to go where you think you're going to be happy at versus, because you know what that Division I and some of those high level Division II or high level NIA, you go and you're just a number and you get lost in the sauce, and then the transfer and then the whatever. Talk to our audience and some of the young athletes what some advice that you'd be giving them.
Yeah, and it's, as a Division II head coach, Division II football coach, period, I run into that same thing daily when I'm talking to student athletes. Everybody has aspirations of going and playing big-time Division I football. And you said it, a lot of times they get the opportunity, be it scholarship or walk-on, and they get lost in the sauce. And they typically end up falling back to a Division II program. Anyway, my advice to these kids, and I tell my recruiters all the time, hey, go where they want you. You understand what I'm
Where
saying?
you can play.
Hey, go where they want you, and you have an opportunity to showcase your skills. Don't go somewhere and sit on the bench. To me, that's dumb. It's dumb. But you have so many kids to go and sit and never play a down in 4 years of football, and they're happy only because it's Division I. They're happy to say they went to a Mizzou, but never play a down. When you can come to a Lincoln University and you can leave your stamp on this university and this program, and just my advice would be to say, hey, if you get a scholarship offer to Lincoln University and you have aspirations to go into Missouri, if Missouri is showing you no love, if Mizzou is showing you no love, and Lincoln University is showing you love, and they're telling you that you're going to be a vital part of their program, you're going to play probably as soon as you step on campus, you probably want to give Lincoln University a shot.
Hey, Coach, the reason I went to Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio, I don't, not financial really. I've got a large network, but financially I'm not. But one thing I can give back, I can give what I'm doing with you right now to HBCUs coverage, because you know how expensive it is to get an interview or to, I'm saying the real, without the like 5 minutes and then you are. I can do that, and hopefully I want to talk to you about HBCUs as I do with all the other coaches, even though some of them have played for Division I coming up and what have you. But in coaching at an HBCU, I talk about the nurturing atmosphere. You don't have to fit in. You already fit in. When you go to some of these other universities, you have to be trying to fit in. You can't really be yourself like you want to. When you go to a Lincoln, and I'm from New York, but I've been in Kansas City since '78, and a ton of the Kansas Cityans have gone to Lincoln, and they talk about that experience when they was in college like it was just yesterday. Because the people that are there, they look like you. They come from basically the same background, and talk about what your feeling is on HBCU, especially the HBCU you're at.
Well, I think a lot of times people they have a misconception or misperception of an HBCU, and in particular HBCU athletics. There's quality football in HBCU on both levels, Division I and Division II. And you take us for example. We're in the toughest Division II conference in the nation. Now, we didn't have a whole.
What conference is that? Let our audience know what
I'm sorry, the MIAA. It is the toughest conference by far in Division II football. And you take this past year for example, we didn't have a lot of success as far as wins and losses. But that was our first year being back in the conference, where we were in the Great Lakes Conference for 3 or 4 years.
Who's in your conference? Just wrap up 2 or 3 teams that are.
Man, well, now you go with Northwest Missouri State. Perennial national championship contenders. And then you had, Central Missouri. Then you have Central Missouri. You have Missouri West. You have Emporia State. You have.
There's no cakewalk.
There's no cakewalk. And listen to me. It's a grueling 11-game schedule. And there are no bye weeks. So you think about that, but you think about, the resources that we have and the resources that they have and what we're facing on a week in and week out basis. Hey, like I said, we didn't have a lot of success as far as wins and losses, but we overcame a lot in competing with most of those teams in the conference. So,
kids learned a lot from that, I bet.
Character.
Yeah, there you go.
Character and perseverance and just buying in and doing the right thing and being where you're supposed to be because you had to. Because if you didn't, you were going to get embarrassed every Saturday. So,
hey, Coach, tell me this. How did your kids? How long have you been there? First of all,
I just finished year 3 at
all
Lincoln.
right.
I was there for 2 years before.
So you have some of the kids that you actually recruited.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times new coaches come in and they're left over with kids that they didn't recruit. You bring in a new system and what have you. How did your kids buy into your system, and where do you feel that your team is working your system at this point?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was first named, well, let's go back to last spring.
All right. Yeah, all right.
Let's go back to last spring. So after the spring game of last year, I was still the offensive coordinator. And we probably had anywhere from 75 to 80 kids on the roster at that point. Well, as soon as that spring game was over with, we had 15 guys that came and asked for a release. Well, okay, moving forward to May was when I was named interim head coach because my predecessor got another job. So I was named interim head coach in May. Well, at that time, our roster was down to about 60. So now we spend the bulk of the summer trying to get our roster number up to at least where we can have a compete team, a scout team for our ones and our twos. When the fall rolled around, we still only had about 65 kids. So we started fall camp with about 65 kids, and that's what we had for the duration of.
Where do you recruit from normally?
Everywhere. We of course we're gonna go start in our immediate area, Cole County. We branch out. We're gonna get some good quality kids from Kansas City. We're gonna get some good quality kids from St. Louis area, which is being right now is being really good to us. But being from down south, which is where my connects are, and I have 2 coaches from the state of Georgia that have connects. So we get a really good feel from.
How many scholarships do they let you? Do you actually have
scholarships?
I know that's a joke.
That's another thing that people don't understand. The uphill battle and the fight that we have, especially in this conference. We probably have the equivalency of about 16 scholarships, where the Division II max is 36. So you go look at every other program in the MIAA, they are fully funded. And what I mean by fully funded, they have all 36 scholarships that they have to divvy out to players. So that's just part of the fight that we have here at Lincoln University. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about it.
No, it is what it is, Coach.
It is what it is.
And let me interrupt you for a minute. I say the same thing about the urban high schools. Like Lincoln Prep just got their first field and was able to play their first home game in about 25 years.
Wow.
In the urban core, you have schools that have one gym that has to service all the different teams. And these suburban schools, it's not scholarships, but it still affects the play. They have 3-4 gyms, they have 3-4 fields, and it is what it is, and you have to compete and find a way to win with the 16 scholarships.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's tough because you're limited on the quality of player that you can go get. We talk about numbers. Yeah, we can get numbers. I can get a roster of 90 to 100 kids, but how many of those guys are going to be quality? You know what I'm saying? So that's where scholarships come in. And you talk about, I talk about how well we competed in the spots this past year. Well, we competed with pretty much everybody for the first and the second quarters. But, you go into halftime, you come out halftime, with a roster number of 60 and everybody else has got 100 plus, those scholarships start to show up in the second half. And that's where we were. But again, I I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to complain about it. It is what it is. I knew what I was getting to when I accepted the job. But what we have to focus on is put a quality product on the field. I think we did a good job of that this past season. I think we're going to do an even better job this fall.
How do you feel? Because players and a lot of people really don't understand that your job depends on your performance to a degree. Yeah. And when you under gun, you got the 6-shooter and they've got the cannon and the mortars and what have you. And then you say compete and your life is on the line. How do you feel about having the support of your administration? What type of administration do you need to have to overcome some of those barriers? In addition, one last thing. Do you think it's possible that the administration, that I'm putting you in a hard place, between a rock and a hard place, because I think that Lincoln has had some alumni that have a little money, and I don't think that they really understand. You give the money to the school versus giving it to the program. Those are two different things.
Right. Right. And you know what? The administration, and I'm talking about, well, right now, let me start with our athletic director, Coach John Mosley, who's also our head basketball coach. Amazing. Amazing. Couldn't ask for a better person to work for. Although he's the men's basketball coach, he supports every sport as equally as he does men's basketball. So
we got him coming on.
What's that?
We got him coming on.
Now he is an amazing person to work for. He bleeds blue, and he wants every sport to be successful. So from an administrative standpoint, as far as athletically, I couldn't ask for anything better. Now you go on top of the hill and you start talking about the administrative team as far as the president and people that are on her team. They can only do so much, they can only give what the university has. If the university doesn't have it, they can't give it.
Right.
But as far as the support from them, yes, absolutely, get it. But my grandma said, you cannot get blood from a turnip.
You're right. And that, again, going back, that's why I'm highlighting HBCUs, so that our audience can get a better, clearer picture of what's going on. I graduated in 1969, and before they start having all these different classics and what have you, the first classics that I can remember, they were played at Yankee Stadium. It was Morgan against Grambling. This is back when they had the heyday, and those schools were well funded, and the enrollment was high. And then, as you say, even the people on top of the hill, they only can do what they budget. And if your enrollment is down, the state is not giving you the dollars and cents. Like you say, you only get 16 scholarships, where they would, if they had 100 extra students, that puts extra dollars in the coffer. And so I want my audience to understand that when a team like yours is struggling and what have you, it's a multiplicity of reasons. It's not just you can be the best coach in the world, but if you don't have the horses, you can't really be in the Kentucky Derby.
Right. Yeah, you
can be in the Kentucky Derby, but you're gonna look bad.
You're gonna look bad, and you're gonna be embarrassed. And I tell everybody, hey, you're right. I know the X's and O's. My staff know X's and O's. But what good are the X's and O's if you don't have the Jimmys and the Joes? So that's where we are, and that's what we're trying to change. And we need help. We need help from the outside. We need donations. And I know I'm saying that now during these circumstances, and I don't want to sound selfish, but in order for us to prosper, we need everybody, alumni, friends of the program. We need everybody to give back. So not only football can prosper, but the whole athletic department can prosper, and the whole university can prosper.
Well, one thing I didn't, in doing these interviews and so forth, and even with the high schools, and that's where I really got more information. A lot of people say, well, I gave back to the university. If you want your specific sport to prosper, you have to designate that fund to go to the football team, the basketball team, the track team, the cheerleaders, or whatever. It goes to the university. If not a quarter might even ever get to the football team.
Right.
And so I want to make that clear to our audience.
Right. And I don't fault the university for that. Because
no, the university. He's got his job on the line, just like you got yours. And where you only have the football team, he's got the whole university, the English department, the business department. Everybody's clamoring like the birds in the nest. Everybody wants to. All the chicks want to eat. Yeah. And he's got to divvy up what he's got. Yeah.
Well, she.
Well, the administration in general.
Right. But and that's the thing, if you make a donation to Lincoln University and you don't specify the program or the department that you want to donate that to, it's gonna go to the general fund, and they're gonna disperse it as they see fit. And again, there are so many needs at every HBCU, and Lincoln is no different. So and there's a priority. And a lot of times athletics is just not the priority. So they're just going to put the money where they think the priority is.
All right. Hey, Coach, so let's move forward on how do you see this virus affecting the 2021 season, and what do you anticipate as it relates to that? And from a recruiting standpoint, do you have your eyes on some recruits that you think are going to improve your program?
You mean the 2020 or the 2021?
2020.
2020, yeah. I mean, we signed 16 kids for unsigned.
They've already signed the commitment and all of that.
So we had 16 kids to sign with us on signing. And with a program like ours, we never stop recruiting. So we signed more kids.
People from down south?
Absolutely.
Oh, I like that.
Absolutely. We're getting kids from, we're getting kids from Mississippi, we're getting kids from Alabama, we're getting kids from Georgia, we're getting kids from the West Coast, from California. So we're getting them from all over. But one of the things that's happened here in the past week, the NCAA came and said that, they're waiving the standardized test scores. So now you don't have to have this year's class. You don't have to have ACT or SAT score in order to be eligible. So programs like us, that's going to help us out tremendously. Now, here's a kicker: you have several kids that are teaching Division I, FCS, and Division II. A lot of big time Division II schools and a lot of FCS schools where typically that kid wouldn't be able to get into because of a standardized test score. Now that you don't have to have that, they're going to come in and they're going to scoop them up.
Well, let me say this. I've said this in many of our interviews. I went to Virginia State on a full scholarship. My first year, I had an 0.7. People be like, no, Mr. Nelson, you had a 1.7. Nope, I had an 0.7. And I went to summer school that year at Manhattan College at Jesuits to bring my grades up and transferred to Central State. And what I think is very risky for a coach to bring a player in, no matter how good his talent level is, and that kid does not be eligible, and you've given that money away. You're in trouble, in my estimation.
Well, no, and that's true. But here and also what we're trying to change at Lincoln University, it's not just taking anybody. It's a grind coaching football in itself. And when you're having to chase kids to make them go to class and do what they're supposed to do, that adds to your stress level. So I have beat it in my coaches. Get quality kids. So if I get a kid who's got a 13 or 14 on the ACT, that tells, and I understand everybody needs a chance, but the likelihood of that student athlete coming to college from high school where he was already struggling, the likelihood of him coming to college and being successful is slim to none. Again, I get it. Everybody deserves chances, but my job is predicated on how well we're doing with the football team. That's with wins and losses and graduating student athletes.
And a kid like that, that's what the JUCOs are for.
Right.
Because I was just back in my day, in the 60s, they had people taking your tests for you, your SATs and so forth. Nowadays, well, we let this conversation off with, you need to go what's going to fit you, because a lot of times you be immature when you come out of school.
Right.
And especially if you come out the urban core, the teachers just be passing you and passing you and passing you. And when I came out, I thought people were just born smart. Now, how stupid is that? I didn't realize you had to study.
Yeah.
And so that JUCO experience is a stepping stone. You didn't get a chance to go to our network, but since we've been in business, Cascade Sports, it will say Cascade Sports, home of the student athlete, because I learned that lesson the hard way. And one of my mentors, Mr. Leon Dixon, with the Boys Learning Center, he made me see that through sports, you can get an education that might take care of you for the rest of your life. And so we have a segment where we bring coaches and potentates and businessmen on to talk about bridging the gap between sports and education. And a lot of the kids don't really understand that that educational part is just as important or more important as your skill set level.
And that's a part of what we're trying to build here at Lincoln, and it's no different from anywhere else. We just got to impress upon our guys that academics come first. Without academics, there is no football.
I like that, Coach. I like that. What you say? There's no football.
No, there's no football. So everybody thinks that they're going to the NFL. Well, the likelihood of that happening is about 3%. And I'm talking about everybody. I'm not talking about Lincoln football.
Right. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So you got to lock in. You got to focus on your academics and your grades. And those are the kids that we're recruiting.
Trying to recruit.
Are focused and locked in on academics now, because here's the thing: if I don't have to chase you to go to class, I don't have to chase you to come to football meetings, I don't have to chase you to come to football practice. It's because you're already disciplined enough to know what's important. And grades are important, classes are important, and then there's football. If I got to chase you to go to class, that means I got to chase you to come.
You're building a culture, Coach.
Building a culture. And, we started spring football this year. We had 51 guys, and that's fine. That's our core. That's our core 51 that's bought in, and they understand where we're trying to go. And from this point now, again, we signed 16 on signing day, and we've added about 10 to that. So my goal when fall camp gets here is to have anywhere from 85 to 100 kids. But that core 51 is going to teach the other 49 how we do things. And we're going to build the culture from there.
Hey, Coach, and wrapping this up, what would your parting words be to our audience, and which is included in the audience, parents? What advice you would give to parents of high school athletes, and to the athletes, and to your alumni?
Well, to the student athletes and their parents, be realistic and understand that everybody cannot go play Division I football. And we said it before, go to where they want you and they value you and they're going to take care of you and not just treat you like another number. Go to a place like that. And when a coach is recruiting you, where it be a Division I or Division II, don't do what we call big time that coach. If you have no interest in going to that college or university, don't accept their phone calls in the beginning, and then you start ignoring them. Be a man and say, hey, I'm no longer interested in attending your university. For us, that is so frustrating because we talk to so many kids and we think we have a good relationship with us, and they're telling us that they're very interested in coming here. And then when it's time to send the paperwork, they won't answer the phone. They won't sign the paperwork. They won't send it back. So my suggestion, or I would just say, be honest. Be honest with us. And if you're honest with us, I promise you, you'll get the best from us. What was the next question?
What would you say to the alumni and to people that are not alumni but are fans of Lincoln U?
We need help. We need help. We need help, and we need money. We need money in order to function. If you can, and it's public record. If you go look at our athletic department and the amount of money that we spend yearly, and you go look at Northwest Missouri State and the amount of money that they spend athletically yearly, it's a huge gap. And I'm not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm talking about millions. That's the gap between Northwest Missouri and Lincoln University. So,
and you're in the same conference.
But we're in the same conference.
And expect to compete.
Yes, and they expect for us to compete. Again, I am going to do my damnness to put the best product on the field and make everybody that's associated with Lincoln University proud. And please understand what we're dealing with and what we're facing on a daily basis. So we need your support. We need your support as far as fundraising and giving money and donations and all of that. And we need to see you at the football games. Don't stand on the hill. Don't stand on the practice field and tailgate and not come support these young men. We need you. They need to see you. They need to see the support.
That might be the difference between a win and a loss when the stadium is packed.
It very well may be. We understand with these millennials, they all want to be seen. If we only got 15 to 20 people in the stand, then their mind frame is, hey, what are we playing for? Now, again, as a coach, I'm working to change that within our group. But alumni, friends of the program, people that just love Lincoln University, we need you. We need your donations, but we also need you showing your face.
All right. Hey, Coach, Cascade Media Group and Cascade Sports, we're committed to the new reality is this Zoom. And I look forward once things, and you can get in touch with your players, that we'll start doing some interviews with them and putting them on our network, because that helps you with your recruiting also.
Absolutely.
When it's just not the star player, when 5 linemen, 5 defensive backs or running backs, they all can be on a program and get some coverage. And so I look forward to working with you. You have my number. I don't have any gatekeepers. And it was a sure enough pleasure interviewing you today.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. Anytime that there's an opportunity to showcase our young men and to put this brand out there and to get people to notice what we're doing and what we stand for, I welcome that opportunity. So I'm always at your disposal.
All right, Coach. I'm going to end this with what I always end all of our programs. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. This is brought to you by the Location 1 Building, 1734 East 63rd Street. When you invest in your community,
you're really just investing in yourself.